Welcome to a few special, shorter, and experimental episodes of Defining Hospitality. I'm calling them special and experimental because I just returned from a few energizing days at the Lodging Conference in Phoenix, Arizona. So, with my Zoom H6 recorder in hand and a microphone, I grabbed a couple of in-person man-on-the-street interviews. I'm calling them experimental because as our audience grows, I'm just curious to see what kinds of impact we can have here at Defining Hospitality. Perhaps the most impactful panel I saw while at the conference was titled Women Advancing Hospitality. One of the panelists is one of my, and I'm sure many of yours, heroes, Venus Williams. But did you all know that despite being a champion in tennis, she's also an inspiring entrepreneur? Venus founded a design firm which, among other things, has completed many successful hospitality projects, like the recently completed 40,000 square foot PGA East Spa in Palm Beach Gardens. That's a huge spa, by the way. Venus's design firm is called V Starr. And while she was up on stage, she mentioned about 3 or 4 times that she's looking to hire some pretty incredible interior designers to join her team in Palm Beach, Florida. So I'm experimenting. Let's see how we can help one of my heroes grow her team. So I had the opportunity to sit down with who Venus calls the brainchild behind her design firm, Principal Sonya Haffey. We discussed what it's like to work for a champion and how they've made what Venus pridefully calls a happy team. I'll post the link to the job description in the show notes. So if you're interested in moving to Palm Beach and learning from a couple of champions and want to join a really happy team, follow the link and apply. I'm going to stop talking now and pass the mic off to Sonya. Thanks, everyone, and enjoy. What I do is inconsequential. Why I do what I do is I get to shorten people's journeys every day. What I love about our hospitality industry is that it's our mission to make people feel cared for while on their journeys. Together, we'll explore what hospitality means in the built environment, in business, and in our daily lives. I'm Dan Ryan, and this is Defining Hospitality. I'm sitting here right now with the principal of her design team, Miss Sonya Haffey. Welcome, Sonya.
Thanks, Dan.
What was really funny to me on stage while up there, and it was a great conversation, but there were about 3 or 4 times where Venus, like everyone else out here, was plugging that, hey, we need to hire people.
Yes.
We're hiring, and the whole crowd laughed. But I wanted to just pull on that a little bit, because one of the things that I was really struck by that she said is she always wants to surround herself with people that are better than her and smarter at the things that they do. I don't know how many people are better at tennis than her, but on the design side, she also said that in addition to the people being better, she really prides herself on having a very happy place to work in Palm Beach. So I wanted to you, who's running all the design teams, what makes it happy and how do you feel, what resonated with you is what she said up on stage while you were sitting in the front row.
Well, I feel the same way, Dan. So I always want to hire someone smarter than me. And I feel like we do that every day in the office. So I even told our newest hire, I said, my goal in life is for you to prove me wrong at least 3 times a day. If you can prove me wrong, you'll make my day. I'll be the happiest person alive. And I feel like that's part of it, is giving people space to be themselves, also giving them space to fail so they learn. And our rule forever has been, since I've been with Venus, is no drama. And that's a big component of our team.
I love that. And another thing that struck me is she said that what she spends most of her time doing now is coaching. And I think she must have, obviously she had some of the best coaches and mentors in her upbringing, but I was also, as she was saying that, I'm like, walk me through a session between you and Venus where she's coaching you. How does she coach you, and how do you feel after that session?
Well, that's an interesting question. I've never been asked. So it is direct. We have a very tight relationship, and a lot of it is listening. So sometimes it's almost like a therapist, right? So She'll ask the question, here's what I need to know. Do you have this data available, or how are the projects going, or how is, HR, how's everybody feeling? And then I'm reflecting on it and giving her data. That's most of our communication. But at that point, if I'm having trouble with something and I want a second opinion, or I want to hear her take on it, the way that she approaches it is much different. She's never telling you what to do. She's trying to get you to tell her how you're going to make it happen. So she's trying to pull it out of you. So it's similar to a coach, where I feel like in a lot of executives or executive roles, you're telling somebody what to do and they're just doing it. You're not learning from it really. You're not gaining from that and knowledge. She's making you think. She's making you do the hard work.
That's fascinating. And also the role of a good coach. And again, like I said, she probably learned from those. So another question for you is, in her coaching of you, this will be a two-part question. In her coaching of you, how has she helped make you a better version of yourself?
Well, she's pushed me to my limits, right? Just as far as, I don't know, when you work for someone that you see their face all the time, all these amazing things that they've done. I mean, the tennis side, she's done amazing athlete, right? But on the other side, like she said, she's done a lot of work with helping others and equality. And when you see someone like that, it always just naturally, at least for me, I want to aspire to be better. So when I'm running her company, I want to make it the best. I want her to look at me and be like, wow, that's awesome. I don't want to make it smaller than it is, right? And so I think that's part of it. It's just she allows me the space to get to that point on my own.
I love it. Okay.
I don't want to disappoint her, just like you would never want to disappoint your coach, right? And my job, like my court today, is lodging conference.
I love it. Okay, so now, in the ways that she's helped make you a better version of yourself and inspired you, and looping back to how we first started talking about how she prides herself on this happy environment that she's created in her, and she's really proud of in the firm. How do you take the coachings that you've learned, or the techniques of coaching that you learned from Venus, and how do you apply it to your team, and why do you consider it a happy place, and why are you so proud that it's a happy place to work?
Well, I know in our industry, there's a lot of firms, a lot of people get burnout. I know this is very common now. Oh, we have work-life balance. We actually have work-life balance. We don't work on weekends. We say no to projects because of it. If we don't have the capacity to do it, I feel like that's a big part of the happiness of the team, whether they know it or not, whether they've been in another position at another firm where they've been burned out or not. But I feel like with our team and the coaching is, if I'm going to have a conversation about a floor plan or some kind of design that they've been working on, I'm pulling it out of them. I'm not going to sketch it. Well, sometimes I do. I'm like really rushed. Here's the sketch. Take it. But a lot of times I'll just sit down with them and say, well, what do you think? Well, why do you think that that's better? What can we learn from this? Okay, so the next time, and sometimes I'm like, okay, I think you went too fast. Let's step back. Like, let's go to the basics. Back to basics. What is it? I'm like, so do it again and come back to me. So that's the practice, right? That's part of coaching. You have to practice and be good at it. And I'm not just, I don't know what the word, like overarching and just on top of them. I'm letting them do the work.
And I bet that resonates with them, and that it inspires them to always do better, much in the same way that you said, you don't want to let Venus down, and you get a lot of joy out of that, right?
Yeah.
And in the same way, you're reciprocating that to your team and,
Yep.
and helping them get better and become better versions of themselves.
Hopefully.
Well, so I just want to say, like, Venus literally 3 or 4 times saying, we're hiring, we're going to experiment. This is what this podcast is all about. And the job, you have a job description?
Yeah, intermediate interior designer. We're looking for a few
Where?
in West Palm Beach. So we're open to people moving. It's not a remote position because I think part of it is being able to see and collaborate with each other. So the intermediate role is between a junior and a senior, and we want them to grow with the company. And they should have a lot of hospitality experience and a really good attitude.
Great. So good attitudes to lend themselves to the overall joy of the office.
Yes.
And I'll put the link to the job description in the post. But if you want to work in a joyful, happy place and be around Venus and have great coaches and help become a better version of yourself, click on the link, send your resume to Sonya, and let's see what we can do.
That's awesome. Thanks, Dan.
I'd do anything for my fairy goddaughter, Venus. And there's more on that story later.